Hi there, everybody. This is Michael Christie, music director of the New West Symphony. Thrilled to have joining me today is composer Derrick Skye, coming to us from, I don't know, Hawaii, LA,
From
Caribbean.
Los Angeles. Yeah, I
I
got
know.
this cool background.
LA-based composer, you have made such a difference in the community and your voice, both as an advocate for music and as a composer, has just been absolutely inspiring, enchanting. So thrilled to have you with us in the upcoming performances with New West Symphony.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's gonna be good.
So tell us a little bit about your background as a musician, as an instrumentalist, and then segue us into the world of composing, getting all that thought from head and heart onto paper.
Yeah, so my background, well, actually, I originally wanted to be a scientist, an engineer, and an astronaut. But I was kind of wooed over to music because it's just so compelling how music can affect people's psychology, their well-being, and it's just a really, I guess it's just a personal admiration for how musicians and composers from many different cultures can have an effect on the population and the culture. The most compelling thing as a composer for me to be inspired to write music has always been me searching for a kind of music that I couldn't find and that I just simply would not accept not being able to find it and never being able to hear it as the end of that search. So there's when you think about the kind of scientist and engineering aspect of my enjoyment in life, you think about, well, if you can't find it, you can make it yourself, kind of a thing. And what I've always been wanting to hear is music that flows from one genre to another, that's transgenerational, transcultural, and you can hear multiple layers of representation of musical vocabulary all entangled into single pieces, maybe emphasizing certain things a little bit more than others as you kind of write from piece to piece to piece. But that's really what I was going for with this first violin concerto that I've written. I was always looking for like this musical vocabulary that wasn't, at least to me, didn't seem like a standard music vocabulary in Western classical music, where you can have this influence of traditional music from different tribes in West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, Eastern Africa, as well as various cultures in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Um, and I just wanted to hear things played in that way.
Mm.
But I wanted to hear them played in that way, but mixed with the brass of Stravinsky, mixed with the brass of Beethoven, mixed with the brass of Holst, and all of these techniques. And I kept wanting to hear those things together, and I couldn't really find much material of people doing that except for these very small moments in film scores. There would be like a little moment. I'd be like, oh, that's it. But then it would be gone because the picture and whatever.
Help a listener understand what happens in your brain and your heart when
Um,
you say, I'm writing a piece. Is it a topic? Is it a pitch? Is it an instrument? Is it a rhythmic cell that sets it off?
yeah.
What's the instigation?
Yeah. So first I usually think about, well, what kind of musical language do I want to draw from this time? Languages, um, and think about which one of these languages I want to start the piece with. And I mean, I guess in a strange way, because composers, at least that I know, don't often do this, but I like to do it. I start from the beginning.
Right.
And I don't even know how the piece is going to end. I don't know where it's going to go. I just start from the beginning, and I usually start with improvisation influenced melodic lines because of the music software that we have today and the music hardware that exists today. It makes it so much easier to capture your performance and then go back and using the tools of measurement, figure out what you did and how you need to engrave it so that it can be read.
Replicated. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we gave you a task to create a companion piece to Ravel Tzigane. And it is a piece, you've retained certain aspects. The Ravel begins with a violin cadenza. Your piece starts with a violin cadenza. Um, there are segments that are very delineated, I suppose, in the Ravel. Um, you also have segments. Talk to us a little bit about how you took the commission and then how you whether and then how you addressed the Ravel in your process. You might not have at all, I'm not sure, but it certainly feels like they are questioning and answering each other to a certain extent.
Well, absolutely. So, the very first time I actually did a first version of this piece, where I wanted to go in the complete opposite direction than Ravel. But then I was talking with Alyssa about it, and she was like, No, I want to go all in." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So, so I just kind of I just wanted to go head on and have it be a question and answer with the Ravel. The the Ravel is an extraordinary piece in that it's like probably one of the only violin concertos that sounds that way, that's using that kind of musical language in a way that really feels like it came from that particular culture. And so what I wanted to do is say, okay, well, if Ravel was alive today and his appetite for like exploring these other musical languages, and like, could you imagine what would happen if the internet existed back then and oh my gosh, he could hear all these things? I feel like he would do the same thing. So I was
Absolutely.
just like, well, I'm going to give it an attempt. I'm not Ravel, but so I'm going to give it an attempt. Like, let's see what happens. And so I wanted to use that form. The form that he used, I thought was really extraordinary because you start just with the violin by itself, you're really paying homage to the 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 context in which a lot of the music that comes from that particular culture is played.
Mm.
So with the Roma people, a lot of times someone would play something by themselves.
Mm.
Like that would be like how it starts. There'd be like this kind of solo cadenza, and then the group comes in. It seemed like a very kind of natural and logical way of saying, well, look at there's a lot of cultures that start with an individual doing something, and then everyone joins in. And there's plenty of Western examples of the same thing. And so it's like, well, of course, like why not? So it was a situation where it wasn't just Ravel, although that's what he did, but it's also something it's a practice that's shared for millennia. And also people get to hear some of the details
Mm.
of these different of this musical language that's an amalgamation of languages, which is really what every language is, right? Um, Without any distraction, like no other instruments. Like we're just us and Alyssa.
So you gave us some pretty specific instructions. There's a whole page at the beginning of the score with detailing various techniques. Tell us a little bit about how you are asking both Alyssa as the soloist, but also the orchestra to create the sound world that is this amalgamation.
The details are always going to be in like the ornamentation and the tuning. So most of the rest of the world never agreed to eighth being 440. Uh, there's a small group of people that did in Western music, and a lot of music technology and stuff is based off of that. But, the 5 billion other people are like, yeah, to hell with that. We're going to do our own thing and have 24 notes in the octave. Well, I love that kind of flexibility. And so for the soloist, Alyssa's got like these different tunings that to kind of create different sized intervals that she's got to work with. And on top of that, for the orchestra, we've got some body percussion, which is something that you can find everywhere. And then there's also extended technique, things that would be found in something like Ligeti or Penderecki, because I just want to make sure that when people hear this, like the sound palette, the sound vocabulary needs to feel like everybody's involved.
You had a collaborator who helped kind of inspire and give some ideas into the Middle Eastern technical vocabulary. Could you tell us a little bit about kind of the background
Yeah,
project collaborator?
yeah. So I study with a Persian classical musician. Her name is Piraye Pudafar, and I study Persian classical music with her. Um, and part of that study is she teaches me like how it functions and what some of the ornamentation techniques and how when you're picking specific gouche or pitch collections, how you use them when you're doing improvisation in a way that's respectful and kind of tells the story. Having that kind of care and attention from somebody who is so experienced in that style just couldn't be understated at all. She's just an amazing resource and just a really good teacher.
In terms of the conversation between Tzigane and Amalgamation, what do you hope audience will take from the that dialogue between the two pieces? Besides, you
Yeah,
have an amazing soloist, and they should love her virtuosity.
yeah. Well, I hope they kind of take away from it as like this as amalgamation being a Tzigane of the 21st century, or the future, where where there's this folk like texture to it, but it seems to be able to jump from one culture to another and not be just as focused on one, right? The Tzigane is very focused on the Roma sound. Whereas this one, I mean, it'll go from Persian classical to Arabic to blues, jazz, So yeah, I really hope that they can say, wow, this sounds like a an updated 21st century perspective with that Tzigane type approach.
What's it like as a composer to be in the audience, watching us, hearing us take your
Oh,
idea and taking those little black dots on the paper and making them realize into some expression?
yes. Well, it's both terrifying and exciting and relieving. It's relieving because I don't have to play it. um, but then it's also terrifying because I just, I want everybody to have a good time. I'm always thinking about, the audience. Are they having a good time, or are they like, oh, it's another new piece, another one of these things, right? So, um, and then I'm also, I just want to make sure that people walk away feeling fulfilled. Especially here in Southern California, if you're going to get on the road and sit in traffic to go to a concert, you want that concert to be good. You want sitting on the 405 or the 101 to be worth it.
Well, I appreciate your time very, very much. We're looking forward to the world premiere of Amalgamation with the New West Symphony, Alyssa Park violin soloist, and we will look forward to seeing you up on stage, taking your applause. And I know this is such a process to create pieces. I can't imagine the time and the process. So thank you very much for doing that for us. It means a lot.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.